A few years ago, I took the train from Chicago to Flagstaff, Arizona to visit my friend Adele for the weekend. The journey one way took over 2 days with several delays and was the longest transit by train in the US that I have taken to date. While passenger train lines in the US disappeared when the American government redesigned our infrastructure around the automobile industry, Amtrak, the only passenger rail line in the US today, offers some good deals on routes throughout the country. While American trains experience frequent delays, train travel is still my favorite mode of transportation, whether you're traveling locally or far. Train travel is low emissions, low cost, a very relaxed way of traveling. Even if you're traveling economy and sleeping in your seat as I did, it's usually quite a comfortable journey with lots of leg room and cushy chairs. And this mode of transportation offers a very unique experience of travel throughout the landscape, as rail lines tend to cut across less developed areas where there's more abundant wildlife. Shortly after I made this journey, a collision occurred on an Amtrak passenger line in the Midwest, in which accident several people lost their lives. It was a tragedy that threatened to hurt the American passenger rail industry through creating a culture of fear around train travel. To prevent this, affluent perspectives on Amtrak began to be published through major news sources and painted American passenger rail as a leisurely touristic experience for the upper classes. And while this is certainly the case for some who can afford to spend over $900 a night on a sleeper car or to eat fancy meals in the dining car, these perspectives do not accurately portray the function of American passenger rail as a major mode of transportation for working class and blue-collar citizens, nor do they accurately represent the social experience of train travel in America and all of the different types of people that you may observe or encounter and converse with. Beyond the inefficiency of frequent long delays, my biggest complaint about train travel in America is that disembarking is not allowed until you reach your final destination, except for designated stops for a short period of time. And this really limits the tourism opportunities that rail travel would otherwise present in this country, and limits the type of travel experience that you're able to have when taking the train to viewing the country you're traveling through only from the train. If trains in the US ran with greater frequency, if there was hostile infrastructure throughout small towns along rail lines, if people had the opportunity to stop off for a night and resume their journey on the same ticket the following day, America would be much more accessible to tourists, and the economies in smaller towns and more rural areas would certainly benefit. Society as a whole would certainly benefit as well, with greater opportunity for different types of people to encounter and engage with each other, and for the sharing of stories, life experiences, new ideas, greater opportunities, and just generally accessibility for young people growing up in rural areas that are quite isolated to be made aware through such encounters with travelers that these opportunities exist, and to understand and be able to imagine for themselves how to access them and that they can. American society is currently so car-centric that the livelihoods of the majority of the working class goes towards personal drivability and vehicular maintenance, and therefore pedestrianism is so stigmatized that people don't even realize their fear of the pedestrian is actually a fear of becoming a pedestrian. Through the instability of the working class lifestyle and income opportunities, threatening to render people carless in a country where there really is no good, reliable public transportation to serve as an alternative to cars and to support people being able to get to their jobs or wherever else they need to go. This reality really illustrates the vast difference in experience of life and society and space in America, whether you're growing up in an area with public transportation and the ability to get yourself to and from work on your own, or whether you're growing up in an area that does not have good public transportation and you're very, very limited as to what type of work you can accessibly take. This is not even taking into consideration whether you are in good health and able to travel far as a pedestrian for a better income or for whatever work you're able to find. It doesn't take into consideration infrastructural barriers to safe passage as a pedestrian, and it doesn't take into consideration the experience of time as a pedestrian, whether you're walking, biking, or busing, the amount of hours that you need to work at a lower wage in order to keep yourself housed, and it doesn't take into consideration either the unreliable schedules of public transportation in America and how that impacts your ability to show up on time where you need to be, and how much extra time and planning has to go into accounting for the potential for delays and exposure to the elements. Too many Americans rely on inefficient public transportation in this country because there are no other affordable alternatives. For many, the issue of transportation in America is a choice between either having a working vehicle or having housing and food. Many cannot afford both, or if they are choosing to have both, do not have the flexibility financially for an expendable income, and therefore cannot save money because they have to live paycheck to paycheck and cannot afford emergencies except through taking on debt. In many ways in America, there is a big difference between having a liberated experience of pedestrianism where you're choosing to be a pedestrian, you have the financial flexibility to do that, or even if you don't face other social barriers to where you are unable to enjoy the experience of being a pedestrian. Perhaps, for example, walking around alone at night, etc., is not a dangerous experience for you. Perhaps you live in an area that is designed to support pedestrian travel, that is well lit, where there are bike lanes, sidewalks, etc. Or if public transportation does not run all throughout the night where you are, such as in my university town, you live within the zoned area where free, safe ride transportation during those hours is an option. For the majority of people in America who are living a pedestrian lifestyle, it is not an enjoyable, liberated experience that is supported by infrastructure, but rather it's a lifestyle that is necessitated by structural oppression, and is a very oppressive experience in and of itself, especially when it comes to safety, reliability, affordability, time allocation, and inconsistency. And the majority pedestrian experience in the US is not supported by pedestrian-friendly infrastructure that is built within more affluent areas, or if present not within an affluent area, is there to support the temporary presence of a transient affluent society, such as an upper-class student body at a highly ranked university. As a female-presenting American who was carless for 7 years, I have experienced both a liberated pedestrian lifestyle and an oppressed pedestrian lifestyle, and can attest to the vast difference between these two experiences. As a solo backpacking traveler who has relied on public transportation in the form of trains, buses, and just walking and biking, generally speaking, within the US and outside of the US, the efficiency, safety, and reliability of public transportation outside of the US is, in many cases, vastly superior to the transit system that we have in America today. And to know that before the dawn of the automobile industry, passenger train systems in America were very widespread in some states and operated more similarly in the past to the UK train system, for example, breaks my heart. We have done better in the past. We should be doing better now. What we have for now doesn't work great. Amtrak, give or take, pretty good. Very enjoyable travel experience. Pretty affordable most of the time. The majority of the people who are taking Amtrak long distance are doing so because they do not have any other options, not because, hey, it would be fun. A lot of people do it for fun. If you're considering doing it for fun, definitely do. It's a great way to see the country and parts of the country that you wouldn't otherwise see by highway or by plane. I really enjoyed my 4-day plus round trip Amtrak journey from Chicago to Flagstaff and back. I didn't have a phone signal and pretty sure there was no Wi-Fi on the train, but I was able to get a lot of work done on my computer in notes and was thoroughly entertained by the gorgeous views outside, by the antelopes running across the plains, getting to see the landscape change as the days went by and as we moved between different ecosystems. I did not bring enough food with me the first leg, so definitely make sure that you do. There is a dining car, there is a food car, but train food is really expensive, so I don't recommend it. It's not that good either. I got COVID on the final leg of the journey. A mask is only going to protect you so much when you're stuck sitting next to someone with a communicable disease for several hours. If you're traveling overnight in economy, make sure that you've got a good plan for keeping your belongings secure while you're asleep, and for protecting your sleep to the extent that you can. Everyone who's sleeping in economy on the train overnight is pretty tired and just wants to sleep, and no one's really going to mess with you, but it's always a good idea to secure your things. For me, I always have anything of value or any important documents in a fanny pack on my body, latched on in some way where if someone's trying to get it off of me, I will wake up and I will know. Same goes obviously for using the bathroom. Never leave anything of value unattended. Dress comfortably and make sure to bring several changes of underwear to prevent UTIs. I overheard some very interesting conversations. I had some very interesting conversations. I got to witness the good and the bad of being stuck in a tin box traveling across the country with a bunch of strangers for several days. On the return leg, someone had just randomly given this guy a puppy and he decided to take it. So there was this tiny little boxer puppy on the train. It was so tiny and cute, and everyone from multiple cars kept coming over to see it and talk to him. So there was really this sense of positive community for a while. People were sharing their life stories with him and talking to him about dogs from their lives that they've loved. Many people were trying to name the puppy, so that was a really pleasant vibe. Unpleasant vibes that were also happening included theft, assault, drama and gossip that did not exist before all of these strangers were stuck in a box together. I don't remember very clearly as it was a few years ago, but I'm pretty sure that there was drinking and sharing vapes and whatnot happening on the train. So as with everything in life and any travel experience that you have, there's good and bad, pros and cons, safe and unsafe situations, and the story to tell if you live to tell it.